All right, Mr. Taliaferro TV, how's everybody doing? I can't emphasize this enough. If you're on the platform, definitely subscribe. And if you really want more of that Mr. Taliaferro content, hit that notification button and you get all my content first. It means the world to me to have you a part of the team. For real, for real, for real. All right, now, Charlamagne the God, he has been at the center of news. And just like we did earlier with Boosie, we tell the story of the alleged sometime. We tell stories of what's been reported, but I feel like we don't do a great job of telling the actual artist or talent or whoever we're talking about on my platform. We don't let them give their side of the story. That's not fair. That's not right. Now you can say what you want about Charlamagne. He's stepped into the fire that he's received for some comments and an old sexual misconduct charge. He's kind of just stepped right into it. Like, he ain't shied away from it. I did see him turn off his IG comments for a couple days, but outside of that, he didn't stood in the fire like a man. So just for clarity, there was a rape that happened, I think back in 2001, right? And it happened at a party that Charlamagne was one of the hosts of. And just to make a long story short, there was a chick who accused Charlamagne of rape. He had a lot to do with, if you follow my platform, you've been up to date on this story. I don't have to go into very in-depth detail. But Charlamagne claims he did not rape this young lady. He claims that if somebody did rape her, it wasn't him. He wasn't even at the party. This thing went to trial. The chick that was 15 at the time, she was not cooperating with law officials and prosecution. Charlamagne did give DNA as well, and that bad boy was pled down. Charlamagne pled that bad boy down to a probation, and he's good, right? So years later, I think and I don't want to, anybody that's potentially been raped or assaulted, listen, man, I don't want to rush your process. You get ready to talk when you want to get talked. Now, I'm thinking this woman is seeing a lot of great things happen for Charlamagne right now. He has a new show about to hit HBO. She's probably seeing some of the change in the person that he's become, or is telling us that he is, right? And I think that got to her, and she is now ready to speak up. I think that in part of, and also with her being ready to tell her story, she steps up a month or two ago, does an interview with Star, and now she's saying she's ready to tell her story. Here's the problem with that. Under South Carolina law, because of the nature of the case, the lack of evidence of the case, they can't bring that bad boy back to the forefront. So that case is closed. And South Carolina has made their statement. They're not opening that case back up no matter what happened, unless there is significant new evidence. But even then, it would have been tough to bring that bad boy, because they had DNA on file showing that Charlamagne did not rape this woman. It's the facts. Or at the time she was a teen, now she's a woman. It's the facts of the case. But what took a turn for the worse for Charlamagne was some audio came out about a story he told on his Brilliant Idiots podcast about an entirely different situation with his wife, right? About how the first time, or one of the first times they had sex, he put this Spanish fly in their drink, and somehow, some way, they had sex, and he claimed she was blacked out. Now, the audio was sickening to hear, to be honest. It's just some disgusting audio. I don't know why the hell he told that story in that way. It might have been a day they were talking about Bill Cosby and just how rape culture used to be so normal in communities. And I get that, but just the tone just was all off. Like, just him bringing that up, I don't know what the hell he was thinking. That tone was all off, all wrong, not sensitive at all. And I get it, it's his wife, but yo, that was just dumb. I'm be honest, it just was stupid. And for a guy that has a donkey of the day that he gives out every day, and he sometimes talks about people who committed rape, right? You gotta be the donkey for technically raping your wife, right? Or it looked like that, right? From the audio he gave us, he did not do a great job of telling that story. Now, he's been on cleanup control. iHeart has been on cleanup control the last 2 weeks. Charlamagne's a big budget over there for urban radio with iHeart Media. They're big time. Breakfast Club is big time, and they've been on damage control. It's a lot of money behind Charlamagne right now, and they're trying their best, because the backlash is crazy. They want his ass. They wanted him, but not really much you can do with a case that's closed. That audio is sick, but that's the man's wife. I mean, what do you want to do? Like, the wife said it wasn't rape. Like, like he brought his wife on the radio. Like, he looks crazy in all this, but I knew in my heart of hearts they weren't gonna get him out of here for that. Yeah, it was no way. Now Charlamagne has officially made his statement, apologizing to everyone. So I just want to paraphrase some of the things he said. Again, I'm leaving out some sentences, some words that were said, but the message won't get misconstrued. I'm gonna deliver his message by leaving out a couple sentences because it's so long. All right. So this is what Charlamagne said. He gave his apology on his Brilliant Idiots podcast, and in a formal statement via voice, he said, "I think people who are really in tune with what I do realize that I've grown a lot. Every day I strive to grow and make the world a better place just by being the change I want to see in the world. When you know better, you do better." I wanted to address some clips from Vlad TV and his Brilliant Idiots podcast where I failed to have a productive, mature conversations around issues that demand respect. Back in 2015, I attempted to have a dialogue about rape culture with an emphasis on the role that men play. A clip was pulled from that conversation. I can honestly say I communicated that all wrong. I totally understand why y'all on my ass, and y'all have every right to be. I have to apologize to rape survivors. That was not my intentions with that conversation. I don't think these conversations should happen in this space. I didn't get it right with this one. I have to apologize for that. But for the record, in 1997, I had consensual sex with a young lady. That young lady is, by the way, his wife now. We got Spanish fly, which is not a drug. We were both aware we were putting that in a bottle of brandy. I didn't explain that situation well in 2015. The way social media took it is that I was admitting to having sex with an incoherent woman. That wasn't the case. Spanish fly is not a drug. It's sold in sex stores and drugstores. We both passed out because we were both wasted. The point of that conversation was discussing that situation that seemed so normal to us back then, but now in light of the conversation centered around rape culture, that these are extremely sketchy now. All right, I want people to learn from my ways. Don't have sex with any woman who's incoherent. Leave her alone. I want to apologize to anyone who was triggered by that story. I don't have any problem apologizing when I'm wrong, and the way I communicated that story in that clip was dead as wrong. Again, just to add a little more to that, Charlamagne gave like a 6 to 7 minute just straight apology. Again, I didn't get every sentence, but I didn't want to misconstrue his message by any means. That's the message that he was trying to get across. If you want to listen to it, it's on, I think, their loudspeakers YouTube channel. If you want to hear it come out of his mouth and kind of judge if you hear a liar or somebody telling the truth, do that for yourself. Now, in regards to what I thought of the message and what I thought about Charlamagne and the Breakfast Club, like I said earlier, I never thought he would get fired for that. I'm torn because he's been somebody who's been an advocate. I used to watch the Breakfast Club daily, right? I never shy away from that. I kind of pull back now, but he's been somebody who's advocated that people lose their position, or you flood their comments on Instagram for a lot less. Let's just be honest, right? Roseanne lost her job over a tweet. If that type of audio surfaced on Roseanne, I would expect her to lose her job with ABC over that as well. And in regards to Charlamagne, I never thought he'd lose it. Somehow, some way, more is accepted in urban media than it is in mainstream media. It's not a good look. The audio, like I said earlier, that audio sound crazy. I never thought he'd lose his job. I don't know where I even fall in regards to him losing his job. I never really wanted that. I think that dude is a very important figure out there that just made a mistake, and thank goodness for him. It looks like he's going to be able to keep his position after his mistake. What I did take from that is, he's going to be on the cusp of leaving that Brilliant Idiots podcast soon, right? Like, that's what I took from that. Like, I seen him say, if you see what I put up on the screen, it was something about those conversations shouldn't happen on this space. But that's one of the things they talk about a lot, like sex and their past experiences. I don't know if that podcast is still for Charlamagne. To me, personally, looking from the outside looking in, it seems like he's doing Andrew Schultz a favor more than doing it for himself. And if that's your dog, do your dog a favor. But I'm looking at Charlamagne. I mean, you got a show on HBO or Showtime. I think it's HBO. You got a deal over there, and the Breakfast Club is a tremendous platform for him. But he spoke about how he might not be on the Breakfast Club for too much longer because he wants to transition into nighttime television. I'm looking at that Brilliant Idiots podcast like, yo, whatever little money y'all get from ads or whatever, is it that important to your success? Like, yo, these comments didn't come from the Breakfast Club, the money maker, the thing that got you in this space that you currently reside in. This came from a podcast. A podcast, might I add, if you want to check them numbers and compare it to some of the other podcasts around, it ain't doing that great. Now, I won't say it's doing bad, but I mean, if they've tried to go head up with the Joe Budden podcast, we've watched the Joe Budden podcast not only, and I guess that's, Joe Budden probably got the top hip hop podcast, but if you want to compare it, podcasts, at one point the Brilliant Idiots podcast was well over the Joe Budden podcast, but now things have changed dramatically. All right, those numbers are not even close. A lot of people go into the Brilliant Idiots podcast comment section just to troll about the Joe Budden podcast. I'm just being honest. And I've listened to both recently, right? I had a chance to, I don't listen to Brilliant Idiots that often, but I listened to it recently. And the content, it just doesn't keep my eye. It's not captivating content anymore. That's just my opinion. And I'm looking at Charlamagne like, you're one of the most important figures. I mean, Kanye called this dude, whatever it's worth, the new Oprah. Right, like this dude maybe is too big for that podcast. I'm not saying he's too big for any podcast. That's his journey, whatever he wants to do. But reading his comments and listening to him, I'm thinking he might have outgrown that podcast. And they did. It just definitely seems he's outgrown the podcast. Y'all talk to me about Charlamagne's apology. Again, listen to it if you have the time, and then come in my comment section and tell me does it sound genuine or not. I'm just trying to do my part in the culture to give everybody their side of the story, because sometimes the truth just lies in between. Most times, actually, the truth lies in between. Charlamagne apologizes for his 2015 comments about having sex with his wife, because people did kind of combine those comments with that rape allegation in 2001, and his life has been a living hell for the last 3 weeks in regards to media. Thank y'all for the time, love, and support. I don't take it for granted. Salute. I'm out. What up, Pharaohs? I decided to step my game up again. I've created a music reaction Instagram page. That way, you guys can be up to date on some of the latest new music in the atmosphere, and you guys can also send me some of your music as well, and you will get Mr. TALIAFERRO'S first reaction to your record, for good or for bad, or an artist that we talk about on my platform's music, for good or for bad. Again, follow me on Instagram, Mr. TALIAFERRO TV. Again, that's Mr. TALIAFERRO TV, and you get more of yours truly.